Hi everyone. This is going to be a supercut of the Cryptid Iceberg, parts 1 through 8. I am working on a Jonestown video. It's going to be very long. It's already 6 pages. The script is, my usual script length is like 3 pages. So it's already 6 pages, but just between like some personal stuff and work and this video being so long, I just haven't had time to finish the script and then get to recording and editing. So I hope you guys enjoy this supercut of the Cryptid Iceberg. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I really do appreciate it.
Bigfoot is one of the most well-known cryptids in North America. Not only is there the famous film of an alleged Bigfoot, but early records from indigenous people include tales of mysterious hair-covered creatures living in forests, as well as the Natchez in 1721 reporting stories to a French priest about a hairy creature in the forest that would scream loudly and steal livestock. Bigfoot is supposed to be 6 to 9 feet tall, but some have described it as being 10 to 15 feet tall, man-like, and supposed to be more human than animal. Besides giant octopuses in the ocean, there's also an alleged giant octopus in the freshwater man-made lakes of Oklahoma. There's no physical evidence of the creature. However, people point towards the high mortality rate and the large number of unexplained drownings near the lake. However, there's not a lot to do in Oklahoma besides drink. Probably just got drunk and then went swimming and died. Probably. There have also been alleged numerous sightings. One of the reasons that I'm scared of the ocean is that we don't know what's down there. There are many things on this list that fall under this umbrella, but this is one of the main ones. Sea serpents are a dragon-type sea monster. In ancient times, even biblical times, dragons are envisioned as huge serpentine monsters with no legs or wings, which is how sea serpents are described. An ancient eyewitness report is found in Aristotle's Historia Animalium, where a reference is made to an eyewitness account of a dead sea creature. Quote, "The corpse of which was about 100 feet in length, and so bulky that horsemen standing by it on either side could not see one another, and its jaws were large enough to admit a man on horseback." This experience was sometime between 130 and 51 BC. With its name literally meaning goat sucker in Spanish, you'll never guess what the chupacabra is famous for. The chupacabra feeds on goats and sheep, with its first reported attack being 8 dead sheep in Puerto Rico. Each sheep had 3 puncture wounds in the chest area and had been completely drained of blood. The most common description of the chupacabra is that of a reptile-like creature, having leathery or scaly greenish-gray skin and sharp spines or quills running down its back. It's also said to be about 3 to 4 feet tall. Short little fella. I could probably take him on. Having a professional NHL team named after it, the Jersey Devil is also known as the Leeds Devil. The creature of legend is said to live in the Pine Barrens in South Jersey. The creature is often described as a flying bipedal creature with hooves, but there are also variations. The most common description is a bipedal kangaroo-like creature with a horse or possibly goat-like head, bat-like wings, horns, small arms with clawed hands, hooves, and a forked tail. If more than one person is describing that exact thing to you, they've probably seen it. The reported origin of the Jersey Devil starts with the Leeds family in the Pine Barrens. Finding out that she was pregnant with her 13th child, Jane Leeds cursed the baby, crying out that it would be the devil. Born as a normal child, the 13th baby changed to a creature with hooves, a goat's head, bat wings, and a forked tail. The child then beat everyone with its tail before flying up the chimney and heading into the pines. In 1909, newspapers published hundreds of claimed encounters with the Jersey Devil all over South Jersey, where people claimed that they were attacked by the creature. They were probably just robbed. It's New Jersey. During this time, the Philadelphia Zoo posted a $10,000 reward for the creature, which prompted hoaxes, including a kangaroo that had artificial claws and fake bat wings glued to it. Jackalopes are described as a jackrabbit with antelope horns. In the 1930s, two brothers popularized the American jackalope by grafting deer and antelope antlers onto a jackrabbit carcass and selling the combo at a local hotel in Douglas, Wyoming. The Wyoming legislature has considered bills in the past to make the jackalope the state's official mythological creature. They really don't have much going on in Wyoming, do they? It is said that the adults grow to about 3 feet tall and weigh up to 150 pounds. The Thunderbird is a legendary creature in certain Native American history and culture. It's considered to be a supernatural being of power and strength. The Thunderbird is said to create thunder by flapping its wings and lightning by flashing its eyes. In Algonquin mythos, the Thunderbird controls the upper world, while in modern mythos, the Thunderbird is a purported cryptid similar to our next entry. Sometimes referred to as Nessie, not to be confused with my dog, Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster is supposed to be located in the Loch Ness, in Scotland. Described as being large, having a long neck, and having one or more humps that protrude from the water, the monster was brought to worldwide attention in 1933. The scientific community explains alleged sightings of the monsters are hoaxes, wishful thinking, and the misidentification of objects. However, the cryptozoology community has placed emphasis on the creature, citing pictures taken as proof. You can look at the pictures, they're not really that proof. They kind of look good, I guess. Often compared to, and perhaps even related to, the Bigfoot of North America, the Yeti is said to live in the Himalayan mountain range in Asia. The Yeti is referred to frequently as the abominable snowman in the Western Hemisphere. The origin of the Yeti is believed to be a combination of factors, including Sherpa folklore and misidentified animals such as bears. Described very much like Bigfoot, the Yeti is described as being a large, bipedal, ape-like creature that is covered with brown, gray, or sometimes white hair, and occasionally is depicted as having large teeth. Reportedly sighted twice total, the Dover Demon is supposedly a cryptid in Dover, Massachusetts. He probably left Massachusetts, said this state sucks, got out of there. On April 21st, 1977, 17-year-old Bill Bartlett claimed that while he was driving, he saw a large-eyed creature with tendril-like fingers and glowing eyes on top of a broken stone wall on Farm Street in Dover. April 21st? Dude, that's the day after 420. That guy was just stoned. 17? Massachusetts? April 21st? He didn't see anything, man. That guy was just high. Two 15-year-olds also reported seeing a similar creature on the same night in Miller Hill Road. See? They were just high. With another sighting being reported the night after on Springville Avenue. All three teens drew sketches of the creature, and Bill wrote on his, quote, "I, Bill Bartlett, swear on the stack of Bibles that I saw this creature." According to the Boston Globe, quote, "The locations of the sightings, plotted on a map, lay in a straight line over 2 miles. Some suggested that the creature could be a moose calf, but police believe it was probably nothing more than a school vacation hoax." I have a whole video on Mothman. You can view it here. However, if you don't have the 10 minutes to watch the video, I'll still give a brief explanation. Mothman is famous in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where they have museums, restaurants, and a festival for it. It is said that if you see Mothman, there will be a disaster in the near future, as Mothman was seen before the Chernobyl explosion, before the Fukushima, Japan meltdown, and before the Silver Bridge collapse. Referred to as greys, the gray aliens are depicted as having dark to pale gray skin, humanoid shape, and lack of external organs like ears, nose, etc. Gray aliens are what you think of when you think of typical aliens, and make up 40% of all reported alien sightings. There are many reported sightings online in both picture and video form. Greys are also supposed to be the aliens that are held at Area 51, and the aliens that crashed in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. Reported as being seen near Mount St. Helens in the 1980s, Bat Squatch resembles a flying primate, as I'm sure you can guess. It gets its name from the words bat and Sasquatch. A witness allegedly took several pictures of the creature, but they haven't been analyzed, so cannot be proven to be photoshopped, and I wasn't able to find them online either. I did a ton of digging, so if there's not a picture here right now, I apologize. I did a ton of digging before recording. I'm going to do even more after recording to see if I can find it in editing. Not to be confused with the Alaskan bullworm from SpongeBob, the Mongolian deathworm is a creature alleged to exist in the Gobi Desert. Yeah, it doesn't live under the sea, it lives in the literal desert. Since it's impossible to prove a negative, such as the worm not existing and the Gobi Desert being 500,000 square miles, we can't say for sure that the worm doesn't exist. The Mongolian deathworm first came to Western culture via Roy Chapman Andrew and his 1926 book called On the Trail of Ancient Man. He described secondhand takes of the monster that he had heard in a meeting of Mongolian officials. He said that, quote, none of those present had ever seen the creature, but they all firmly believed in its existence and described it minutely. However, in 1983, a specimen of Tartar sand boa was shown to locals who claimed to have seen the worm, and they confirmed that it was the same animal. Perhaps that was what gave birth to the legend. The Enfield monster is a monster reported as being seen in Enfield, Illinois, USA. Used mostly as a case study for a paper on social contagion in 1978, the monster is described as having 3 legs, a short body, 2 short arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. It's about 4.5 feet tall and gray, almost like a human body. That's a quote, but very, very few of that sounds almost like a human body. Reports in 1973 by the News said that it was probably a wild ape or escaped kangaroo. Not too far from where Mothman first appeared, the Flatwoods Monster, also known as the Braxton County Monster, Braxy, or the Phantom of the Flatwoods, was seen in Flatwoods City, Braxton County, West Virginia, USA. On September 12, 1952, after a bright object crossed the night sky, 3 boys and a local neighbor went to where they thought the object had landed. They saw a pulsing red light, and when a flashlight was aimed at it, they saw a man-like figure with a round red face surrounded by pointed hood-like shape. I'm also pretty positive that the aliens from Majora's Mask are inspired by the Flatwoods monsters. Look at the two compared. They're so similar. And if anyone knows anything about Majora's Mask, I got a tattoo about it. A globster is an unidentified organic mass that washes up on the shoreline of an ocean or other body of water. The term was first coined in 1962 when a mass washed up on shore, which was said to have, quote, no visible eyes, no defined head, and no apparent bone structure. It's different from a normal beach carcass as it's hard to identify. That just sounds like ocean slime. Said to be a servant or guardian of hell, the devil, or the underworld, hellhounds are found in mythos all around the world, with the best known example being Cerberus. While physical characteristics can vary, they are commonly black, overgrown, supernaturally strong, and often have red eyes. In a few countries and cultures around the world, it is believed that Satan himself will appear to others as a hellhound. We're on to another reason that I don't like the ocean, the Kraken. Said to live off the coast of Norway, the legendary sea monster was first described in the year 1700. The description was later followed in 1734 by an account from a Norwegian missionary and explorer who described the Kraken in great detail. Old sea monsters are super fascinating to me. I'll probably make a video on them as a whole in the future. This is my favorite cryptid on this tier, by far, the Loveland frog. Standing at 4 feet tall, this bad boy is supposedly a humanoid frog in Ohio. This one is so funny to me. This is an artist rendition. I mean, just look at it. Look at this dude next to a freeway barrier, like he's gonna hop over it. Looks shocked that we found it. He's like, oh crap. They know I exist. The legends say that the creature was first sighted by a man driving late at night in 1955. It's said that he spotted 3 figures stood erect on their hind legs along the side of the road, each one being about 3 to 4 feet in height, with leathery skin and a frog face. I'm sure this would have been scary in the moment, but honestly, this is so funny. Look at it, dude. The legend was made into a musical titled Hot Damn, It's the Loveland Frog. Said to inhabit the Okanagan Lake in British Columbia, Canada, Ogopogo is said to have originated with the native Canadians. There have been multiple sightings of the beast. However, skeptics say that a group of otters swimming in a row could be mistaken for a monster. Today, Ogopogo is actually used as a main factor in the town's economy, as many local stores, gas stations, etc. use it as a kind of mascot. More commonly referred to as the Goat Man, the Popelick monster is a legendary part man, part goat, part sheep creature that is said to live beneath the railroad bridge over Popelick Creek in Louisville, Kentucky. So he did not lick any popes. There are many legends about the creature's origins and methods it used to lure victims. Some say the creature was a circus freak who fled the circus, and others say the monster is the twisted and reincarnated form of a farmer who sacrificed goats in exchange for satanic powers. When you Google reptilians, the first results all include the word conspiracy, so why doesn't the government want us to know about reptilians? I wasn't super huge into the idea that reptilians existed, but now that all the search results include the word conspiracy, kind of more about it. The idea of reptilians was popularized by David Icke, who claims that shape-shifting reptilian aliens control Earth by taking on human form and gaining political powers, and he has claimed on many occasions that many world leaders are reptilians. The Wendigo is one of the most feared mythical creatures in Native American culture. There are different reported ways a person can become a Wendigo: greed, cannibalism, and contact with Wendigos for too long. A Yowie is one of several names for an Australian folklore entity that is reported to live in the outback. The creature's roots are oral in nature, as stories passed from the Aborigines. Described as a hairy ape-like creature standing upright at between 7 feet and 12 feet. Described as hairy ape-like creatures standing upright at between 7 feet and 12 feet, the creature's feet are described as larger than a human's. However, alleged tracks are inconsistent in shape and toe number. They are described in a number of ways, from timid and shy to violent and aggressive. Kind of just sounds like another Bigfoot. Dragons as a whole have a lot of mythos surrounding them, with a lot of origins depending on the region of the world you look in. The most common type of dragon in the West is depicted as a fire-breathing quadruped lizard with wings and a tail. However, if you go east, Asia, dragons are wingless, serpent-type creatures with above-average intelligence, kind of like the dragons from Avatar: The Last Airbender, if you've ever seen the show. Scholars believe that huge extinct crocodiles bear the closest resemblance and could explain dragons. Dragons, however, are mentioned in the Bible. I don't know if you believe in the Bible, but they are mentioned there. The Hydra is a multi-headed serpent-like water monster in Greek and Roman mythology. Its lair is reported to be the entrance of the underworld. It has poisonous breath and blood so foul that even the scent of it is deadly. Hercules was sent to kill the Hydra as the second labor. Disney even included it, and you can see how cool looking the Hydra is here. It's like cut one head off, 2 more will take its place. I don't think it's in the MCU at all. I don't actually really follow the MCU. I have no clue. But I do know that Hydra is one of the main reasons that S.H.I.E.L.D. was founded. The Umibozu kind of looks like if you took salad fingers, took his clothes and dyed him black. Unlike salad fingers, however, it's a sea serpent with multiple sightings in Japan. The spirit is said to appear to sailors on calm nights, which quickly turn into a nightmare of waves. It is said to either break the ship or demand a barrel and then drown the sailors in the barrel. The only way to safely escape it is to offer a bottomless barrel and then sail away while it's confused. In Navajo culture, a skinwalker is a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. The term is not that of a healer witch, but a harmful one. The skinwalker legend is not super well known outside of the Navajo tribe. However, supposedly the most haunted place in the world is Skinwalker Ranch in my home state of Utah, just right outside of Vernal. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Skinwalker Ranch or Utah. Right outside of Vernal, Skinwalker Ranch. I will be making a video on the ranch in the future. I also know the owner, so I'm going to see if I can get him to answer some questions for us. No promises, though. He's a busy guy. The Fresno Nightcrawler is one of my favorite cryptids, actually. It just looks so cool. It just kind of looks like an old Disney ghost, like an old Disney cartoon ghost. It's a cryptid that has made a total of 2 appearances so far. The first sighting was in Fresno, where it got the name Fresno Nightcrawler, and the second was in Yosemite National Park, also in California. In both of these sightings, they have only been caught on camera, but a man in Poland was claimed to have seen the creature with no photographic evidence. I love the way these things walk. Let's see if I can get a video here, because they walk funny. Look at that. Baba Yaga is a Slavic cryptid. She is supposedly an ogress who steals, cooks, and eats her victims, who are usually children. Her and Shrek would have beef, I think. Her fence is topped with human skulls, and she can fly in an iron pot. It's also said that she often travels with Death on his travels, devouring fresh souls. Centaurs are actually some more of my favorite cryptids. It's kind of funny. I think I got my like for centaurs from Disney's Hercules, which was one of my favorite Disney movies. Centaurs are thought of as being as wild as untamed horses, which make up the lower part of their body, while they have an upper body and torso of a human. There's a whole list of centaurs with names and backstories and stuff. If you'd like to know them all, I can make a video, or you can look them up on Wikipedia. It has all of them. According to Germanic folklore, dwarves are entities that dwell in the mountains and in the earth. Now, I live like 5 minutes from a mountain, the largest mountain range in the continental United States, right? The Rockies. I have never seen a dwarf. It's a little disappointing. They're described as wise, working in smithing, crafting, and mining. Oh, they play Minecraft IRL. They're also described as short and ugly. Why you gotta be so mean to them? I hate dwarves, they're so ugly. No wonder no one ever sees them. They're shy. People keep calling them ugly. However, some scholars wonder if the short and ugly portrayal was due to a more comical portrayal of dwarves in certain recent media. So Snow White, Lord of the Rings, Dopey and Snow White, and Gimli in Lord of the Rings. He's like the comic relief of the group. So they're wondering if that's where they got like their kind of like short and ugly description. Gargoyles are a fantasy and horror monster inspired by the gargoyles on buildings. While a gargoyle is believed to frighten away evil spirits, the ideas that the statues themselves come to life is a semi-recent one. They've also been depicted as vessels for demonic possessions. But the question is, did the statues inspire the monsters, or does the monster inspire the statue? Giants have all sorts of meanings, from ancient, very tall humans, such as Goliath from the Bible story, to monsters depicted in Greek mythos. In Greek mythos, giants were a race of great strength and aggression, but not necessarily great size. Giants in Greek mythos are most known for their battle with the Olympian gods. However, this is not to be confused with the Titans who also battled the gods. It is also said that the Greek giants are banished under volcanoes and mountains and are what caused the eruptions and earthquakes. Gnomes were first brought to modern culture in the 16th century. The characteristics of gnomes have changed to suit the needs of the various storytellers, who include gnomes, but it's typical for them to be small humanoids that live underground. Today, gnomes are most common as statues in gardens, where it is possible that they could become into life. A golem is an animated anthropomorphic creature in Jewish folklore, which is made of inanimate matter, usually clay, mud, or rock. The oldest stories date to early Judaism. In the Talmud, Adam was created as a golem initially. Like Adam, all golems were created from mud by those close to divinity, but are not fully human. Golems are also popular in media around the world. A griffin is a creature that has the body, tail, and back legs of a lion, the head and wings of an eagle, and occasionally an eagle's talon on its front feet. In the Middle Ages, the griffin was thought to be an especially powerful and majestic creature, as both the lion and the eagle were considered kings of their respective kingdoms, beasts, and birds. The first known representation of a griffin-like creature dates back to 3000 BC in both ancient Iranian and ancient Egyptian artworks. I'm pretty sure most of you are aware of Krampus at the very least, as it's kind of appeared in more and more media as of late. It's an evil entity that punishes those who are bad around the Christmas season. Krampus dates back to pre-Christian Alpine traditions, where it pairs up with Saint Nicholas. The two go house to house, with Saint Nicholas rewarding the good children with oranges, dried fruit, walnuts, and chocolate, while Krampus punishes the bad children with birch rods, essentially beating them with the rods. They don't get the rods, they get beat. First found in Irish folklore, the leprechaun is generally a little bearded man wearing a green coat and hat and likes to cause mischief. Leprechaun creatures rarely appear in Irish mythos, but have only become prominent in more recent times. In later times, a leprechaun is depicted as shoemakers who have a pot of gold hidden at the end of the rainbow. I've checked, not there. Leprechauns are not evil, but can be annoying due to their love of mischief. Not to be confused with internet trolls today, the troll is a being in Nordic folklore, including Norse mythology. Beings described as trolls dwell on isolated areas of rocks, mountains, and caves, commonly live together in small family units, and are often not helpful to humans. Later, in Scandinavian folklore, trolls become their own being with a name. They live far from human habitation and are considered dangerous to humans. Depending on the source and where the source sourced their ideas, trolls can be ugly and dumb. Think about the Harry Potter troll specifically. Lord of the Ring troll's kind of ugly. Or they can look and behave exactly like human beings, with no grotesque characteristics. Trolls also were made tiny and friendly with the Trolls dolls, and more recently, the Trolls movies. By far one of the most believable cryptids, the unicorn dates way back to 2000 BC. The reason I say it's believable is we already have variations of horses, right? Zebras, the striped horse, hippo, the bulky water horse, the giraffe, the long-necked spotted horse, donkey, horse with a different name. Is it really that hard to believe that a horse with a horn would exist? We live in a world where an eel that lives in water can electrocute you, and you're like, unicorns can't exist. Anyway, the unicorn is often a symbol of purity and grace, and could only be captured by a virgin. The horn is supposed to have powers, such as rendering poisoned water potable, and to heal wounds and illnesses. The word vampire first appeared in English in 1732 in news reports about vampire epidemics in Eastern Europe. Vampires in culture cannot be in sunlight and have different repercussions if they do. The most common thing for a vampire in the sunlight is to dissolve and die, unless you're into Twilight, in which case they don't die, they sparkle. Vampires are said to be warded off by garlic and crosses and can only be killed by a wooden stake through the heart. Vampires are most common in Transylvania, a region in Romania. They are said to feed on the blood of people, sleep in coffin, and can turn into bats. Jinns are invisible creatures from pre-Islamic Arabian religious systems and later in Islamic mythology. Jinns seem to just be invisible people as far as Islamic culture is concerned, as they are held accountable for their deeds, can either be believers or unbelievers, depending on if they accept God's guidance. Jinns can also possess individuals, according to Muslim scholars, and is considered part of the doctrines of the people of Sunnah. Alright, back to the ocean we go. Leviathan is a sea serpent noted in both theology and mythology. The monster is referred to in several books of the Hebrew Bible, in Psalms, Job, Isaiah, Amos, and, in some translations, the book of Jonah and Enoch. It is often an embodiment of chaos and threatens to eat the damned after their life. Christian theology identifies the Leviathan with the demon of the deadly sin of envy. Since the 17th century, the word Leviathan has come to refer to any sea monster and is synonymous with overwhelmingly powerful people or things. If you were to describe someone or someone or a company as a behemoth, similar things. The roc is a huge legendary bird of prey in mythology of the Middle East. The roc appears in Arab areas and was popularized in Arabian fairy tales and sailors' folklore. A merchant once told of a mountain hovering in the air over the China Seas, which was the roc. According to historian Rudolf Wittkower, the roc has its origin in the story of the fight between the Indian solar bird Garuda and the serpent Naga. Not the actor, although he is also a pretty big fella. An aswang is an umbrella term for various shape-shifting evil creatures in Filipino folklore. These include vampires, ghouls, witches, and werebeasts. Were-dogs, were-cats, were-pigs, etc. The creature is well known throughout the Philippines, dating back to the 16th century. They have no specific motive other than to harm humans. Being a creature lurking in swamps, creeks, riverbeds, and waterholes, the bunyip has mysterious origins. Over the past 150 years, it has been debated on what started the bunyip legend, but the most common theory is that someone was confused when they saw a seal. Physical descriptions of the creature wildly vary from story to story. There is also a town in Australia called Bunyip, which the creature is named after. An aquatic creature that has caused quite a bit of controversy lately, with the top half of a female human and the bottom half of a fish, a mermaid, one of the most popular cryptids in culture today. Sirens from ancient Greek times have influenced and overlapped mermaids to the point that the sirens are often described as mermaids. Due to the overlap, mermaids are said to either be benevolent or wicked towards people. The most famous mermaid in culture today is Ariel from The Little Mermaid. I wrote this script before the trailer came out, so, lots have gone on since then. Lots of people talking about The Little Mermaid and Ariel, so I was even more correct now than I was when I wrote this. There are also mermen, where they have the top half of a guy and the bottom half of a fish. Same thing, but it's a guy. An ahul is a winged cryptid, often portrayed as a giant bat. However, they can also be described as a flying primate, similar to Tier 1, the bat squatch. It mostly eats the local creatures, however it will occasionally attack humans due to the fact that the creature is territorial. The first sighting of the creature was in 1925 by Ernest Bartels. I thought this one was really interesting, sometimes also called flying rods. Air rods are similar to crop circles in the fact that skeptics acknowledge their existence, with the only question being what they really are. Air rods have never been seen by a human with their eyes. You can't just look at one with your eyes. They've only been picked up through photographs throughout the world. Some are more convincing than others. Some just kind of look like bugs or a blurry bird, but some of them do look more legit. A phantom cat, from what I've gathered, are large cats, like cougars, lions, jaguars, that allegedly appear in areas outside of their traditionally home areas. Phantom cats have been seen all around the world outside of their regions. The most famous phantom cat is the Gippsland phantom cat. It's said that in Australia, World War II airmen brought cougars with them and allegedly released them into the Australian bush, which would have caused this. This really is one that I should be more familiar with. as it's said to reside on a lake that borders two of my favorite states, one of which I live in, Utah and Idaho. The Bear Lake monster originally can be found from articles written in the 19th century by a Mormon settler in the area. The latest reported sighting of the monster was in 2002. It's been 20 years, step up your game. There isn't an official description of the monster, but some of the most common descriptions include a serpent with legs about 1.5 feet long, which it uses to crawl across the shoreline. It just kind of sounds like an alligator, actually, like a big alligator. The Beast of Bray Road, also known as the Wisconsin werewolf, is supposed to be a humanoid, wolf-like creature in a rural area of Wisconsin. Named for the road on which it was first sighted, reports of the creature started in the 1980s and 1990s, which prompted the local media to assign a reporter to cover the story. The reporter was initially skeptical, but actually was convinced through the sincerity of the witnesses. Animal mutilations, including livestock and wild creatures, are common around Bray Road and are blamed on the beast. Pretty much just a ripoff of Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. Bessie is an aquatic creature found in Lake Erie. Should have just named it like Essie. The first recorded sighting of Bessie was in 1793. However, sightings have occurred in greater frequency within the last 30 years. The most recent sighting of the creature, however, was in 1995, and a CNN article was released on the monster, as there is a video. I want to see if I can find it and play it here. The bloop, it's more of a proposed cryptid and not like an actual creature. It refers to a low frequency underwater sound that was detected in 1997. It said that the bloop was made by a big creature. It was like such a big noise. It was said that it was made by a huge creature that was unknown to animals. However, recently scientists have decided that it actually sounds consistent with noises of glacier movements. Another lake monster, located in Lake Champlain, Champ or Champy, lives in the freshwater lakes in the North America continent near the US and Canada border. Champ actually is pretty much just the Loch Ness Monster, as it is regarded to either be nothing more than a legend or an old dinosaur that has survived in the depths of the lake. The village of Port Henry in New York has a giant statue of Champ, and they hold Champ Day on the first Saturday of every August, very similar to the Mothman Festival. Devil monkeys are described as large baboon-type primates that have been spotted in wooded areas of Flagstaff, Arizona. A hiker in the area noted that her dog was acting funny on a hike. That's when she noticed some primate-looking creatures scurrying through the rocks. She described them as about 4 to 5 feet tall, quick, and agile. There are also places where they have been sighted in surrounding areas, including New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado. It is said that these creatures can reach a height of 7 feet, are faster and more agile than the Bigfoot or Yeti, and are more similar to the Chupacabra than any other kind of primate. Deloy's ape is pretty much debunked as a hoax, as the only witness of it is a photographer of this photograph taken by Deloy's. Critics say that it is nothing more than a spider monkey carcass. However, cryptozoologists like to support the idea that he actually found an unknown primate. The dodo isn't a cryptid. Dodo is a real bird that existed and went extinct in 1662. The reason I think it's on this list is because maybe they're like, oh, it might still be out there somewhere. But as of right now, it was real, and now it's dead. There's actually a couple like this on this tier. The Fiji mermaid is a mermaid made out of a monkey top with a fish bottom. It was made by P.T. Barnum of Barnum and Bailey's Circus. What Barnum claims is that he found the mermaid and he didn't make it. He claimed that the Fiji mermaid is a real mermaid and clear-cut evidence of mermaids. However, you can kind of tell it's just a monkey top and a fish bottom that were like glued together. This one is pretty obvious, and like unicorns, very popular in media. Ghosts appear in movies, TV shows, video games, etc. Said to be the spirit of a previously living person, a ghost can haunt a certain place, object, or person. There are many TV shows today that focus on ghost hunting, one of the most popular actually being a show that I'm currently watching. I was watching it while I wrote the script. I was watching Ghost Adventures. And I'm not ashamed to say that I was watching Ghost Adventures. Giant anaconda, also not a cryptid. Big snake, still exists. It's in South America. Moving on. Indrid Cold, more commonly known as the Smiling Man, is a humanoid entity sighted throughout the United States, but most commonly in West Virginia. The nickname comes from the fact that the creature tends to smile at almost everyone that encounters him. He is commonly associated with UFO activity and is occasionally believed to be an alien. However, it is also reported that he could be working with the Men in Black. One of the sightings was by a child who was asleep and was woken up by the man and is quoted as saying, "It was a man, a big man, very broad. I couldn't see his face very well, but I could see that he was grinning at me. He walked around the bed and stood right over me. I screamed and hid under the covers. When I looked again, he was gone." While people think this encounter is the Smiling Man, the family believes it could also have actually been a ghost or a spirit. This story also took place in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is where Mothman is from, so maybe this town is just a hotspot or like a portal to a different dimension or something. The Kappa is an amphibious creature found in traditional Japanese folklore, depicted as a green, human-like being with webbed hands and feet with a turtle shell on their back. They are accused of assaulting humans in water and removing a mythical organ from the victim's anus. Said to be found in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in Africa, the Kasai Rex is said to be a surviving species of dinosaur in the same family as the T-Rex. As I said in the first here, you can't prove a negative, so we can't prove the Kasai Rex doesn't exist. However, with that said, if it is indeed alive and real, it would most likely be a Spinosaurid type dinosaur, as no known species of like Tyrannosaurid dinosaurs had ever been reported in Africa. Also known as the Lizard Man of Lee County, the Lizard Man of Scape Ogre Swamp is an entity said to inhabit the swampland in South Carolina. First sighted in 1988, the creature is said to have caused significant damage to the area. With the damage and the increase in sightings, the creature got a ton of media attention in the late 1980s. A 17-year-old local named Christopher Davis first sighted the creature when he said it caused damage to his car. He described it as green, wet-like, about 7 feet tall with 3 fingers, red eyes, skin like a lizard, and snake-like scales. He said that he first noticed the creature when he was fixing a flat tire on his way home from work. As he had finished fixing the tire and was walking back to start driving home, he said he first saw the creature as it rushed towards him. He drove away as fast as he could, but the creature was allegedly on his roof of the car. He slammed the brakes, causing the creature to roll off the roof, giving Chris time to escape. Also, not a cryptid. Not sure why it's on here. It existed. It was real. It's extinct. I think it's on here for the same reason as the dodo, where they're like, oh, maybe it's not extinct, but it's not a cryptid. Mantis Man is a roughly 7-foot tall bug-type creature reportedly seen in Hackettstown, New Jersey. The creature has a description I'm sure none of you would ever expect. It looks like a tall praying mantis. I guess Mantis Man's an okay name, but it lacks creativity, that's for sure. Mantis Man has been spotted twice, both by fishermen near bodies of water, which is odd since praying mantises don't actually spend a lot of time near water. It appears to be timid as every time it's approached, it runs away. He's just like me at parties. Get me out of here. Again, a megalodon. Giant shark went extinct millions of years ago. It was estimated to weigh 67.86 tons. That's the biggest shark to have ever existed. However, the dodo, the mammoth, it existed, right? That's our problem. It existed. I don't know why it's on this list. I have no idea how to pronounce this one, and Google is just throwing like slurs at me when I try to translate it, so I'm just going to try my best. The Mokele M'embe is a supposed water-dwelling entity that is said to live in the Congo River basin. It has been described both as a living creature and a spirit. Those who have been said to have seen the monster describe it as a large quadruped with smooth skin and a long neck with a single tooth, and looking at the picture, you can see it pretty much looks the same as a brontosaurus from the late Jurassic period. The entity is mostly the focus of the cryptozoology community and, oddly enough, young Earth creationists. Probably because it looks like a dinosaur. I actually remember when the Montauk monster was first discovered. In July of 2008, this picture was circling around the internet, which is of a creature that had washed up in Montauk, New York. At first, media reports were that it was a turtle without its shell. However, if you've ever seen an x-ray of a turtle or anything like that, you know that they're actually fused to their shell, so that's not possible. The final consensus from the scientific community was that it was a water-degraded raccoon. Now, I don't know who was smoking crack when they came up with this theory, but raccoons don't have beaks or like these weird spiny teeth. A Naga is a divine or semi-divine race of half-human, half-serpent beings that reside in the netherworld according to Hindu and Buddhist culture. The closest visual that I can give you would be Medusa, who fits the description perfectly. What a Naga does exactly depends on what region of the world you're in, where some are just divine beings that don't necessarily do anything. Look at this guy. Look at how cute this little dude is. I don't know why, but I have such a soft spot for like dumb looking things. I mean, look at this. It's a graded ice cube for like a Pokemon card. I pulled it one day when I was pulling Pokemon cards, and I thought it looked real cute, and I was like, oh my god, I have to get this graded. Like, I don't care if it's not worth anything, I have to get this graded. I love just like dumb looking things. Anyway, the Ningen has been in Japanese folklore since the mid-2000s. It's an aquatic humanoid whale-like creature said to inhabit the sub-Antarctic oceans. In 2002, a Japanese forum post was blowing up, claiming that members of a whale research ship witnessed a creature as it surfaced near the ship off the Antarctic coast. Originally thinking that it was a submarine, the crew went to take a closer look, when the creature vanished into the waves. Sadly, this is the only cute picture of it, as it's also said to have long arms. Not sure why it wasn't depicted there, but you can see other renditions look way more creepy, as seen here. And here. In Cornish folklore, the Owlman is an owl-like humanoid creature having been seen in 1976 in Cornwall, UK. The Owlman is often compared to, you'll never believe it, Mothman. Mothman's just showing up everywhere. This guy, everywhere. The Owlman is first found when a family vacationing in the area cut their vacation short. The reason for this shortage was due to the fact that the family's two daughters were so frightened by what they claimed to be a large winged creature hovering over the tower of St. Mawan and St. Stephen's Church on April 17, 1967. They were so frightened by the sight of the large feathered birdman that their father immediately cut their vacation short, and one of his daughters provided him with a drawing of the creature, which he then dubbed the Owlman. The Pacific Northwest tree octopus was first mentioned in 1998 by Lyle Zapdo. It is purported to live on both land and in water, mostly in the Olympic National Forest and in nearby rivers. Its main and major predator is said to be the Sasquatch. A deity in Aztec culture and literature, a Quetzalcoatl gets its name from the Nahuatl language and means precious serpent. He is the god of the sun, wind, air, and learning. In 1519, the Aztec emperor Montezuma II believed that Hernán Cortés was the god's return. Vastly misunderstood Cortez's intentions, I think. Scarecrows are often a human-shaped decoy used to scare off birds from farms so that they don't eat the produce. Scarecrows are often used in movies as a living being. Now, scarecrows often, from far enough away, can give you kind of an uncanny valley effect. With this deep-seated fear of things that look like but aren't humans, it's no wonder the scarecrows give people the creeps. I mean, look at this thing and tell me you wouldn't be scared if it started walking towards you. Skunk apes are ape-like creatures that dwell in the forests and swamps in the southeast United States, most notably in Florida. The skunk ape is known as the cousin of Bigfoot because it's so similar. The biggest difference between the skunk ape and Bigfoot is that the skunk ape stinks like a skunk. This is perhaps the most famous picture of a skunk ape, and I don't know if creepy starts to cover it. Scary. Like, if this picture is not a setup, I would look at this and then just pee myself, and then I would run as fast as I could for as long as I could, which, if we're being honest, is like 4 miles an hour for 30 seconds, and then the skunk ape would do away with me. The spring-heeled jack is an English entity in the Victorian era. The first claimed sighting was in 1837, and later reported sightings were happening all over the United Kingdom. It was described as having clawed hands and eyes that resembled red balls of fire. One report claimed that beneath a black cloak he wore a helmet and tight-fitting white garments. Many stories mention a devil-like aspect, while other reports mention that he could breathe fire. At least 2 stories claim that he could speak fluent English. Honestly, it just kind of looks and sounds like a dude playing dress up. Probably the most well-known cryptid on this tier, the werewolf is a human with the ability to shapeshift into a wolf, or a wolf-human hybrid in more modern culture. The transformation can either be on purpose, or after being placed under a curse or affliction, often a bite or a scratch from another werewolf, and the transformation commonly occurs on the night of the full moon. Werewolves are super common in media today. I mean, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Skyrim, even Twilight has werewolves. In Arkansas folklore, the White River monster is a large creature, said to have first been spotted on the banks of the White River near Newport in northeastern Arkansas. The monster is referred to lovingly by the locals as Whitey. Some believe that the monster affected the Civil War. The White River was used for transportation, and the monster is supposedly responsible for overturning a boat. I'm sure most people are at least partially familiar with the Phoenix, as it was popular in the Harry Potter series, and the Harry Potter series, for some reason, was popular. The Phoenix is an immortal bird most commonly associated with Greek mythology, but has many analogs in different cultures. The bird is associated with the sun, and while it is immortal, it is because it obtains new life from its predecessor. How it dies and is reborn is up for debate, but some say that the bird dies in a glory of flames and combustion, while others say it simply dies and then decomposes before being born again. In 1959, a colonel in the Belgian Air Force at the Kamina Air Base in Congo, by the name of Remy van Leeuwen, was returning from a mission by helicopter. After they landed, he reported seeing an enormous snake as they flew over the forest. He described it as 50 feet in length, with a 2-foot wide by 3-foot long triangular head. If his estimates are accurate, this would put the snake among the largest snakes that have ever existed. The colonel described the color of the snake as dark green and brown top scales and a whitish colored underside. Ancient astronauts is a theory that says intelligent extraterrestrial beings visited Earth and contacted humans in prehistoric times. The idea is that the contact influenced the development of modern cultures, technologies, religions, and human biology. You can think of this as like the aliens built the pyramids theory, but more than just pyramids. There are potential drawings, as well as writings in books, including the Bible. A man-eating tree is pretty self-explanatory, I think. It's a giant plant in the shape of a tree that's large enough to kill and eat a human or a large animal. The earliest report of a man-eating plant was in an article written by Edmund Spencer for the New York World. The article was first published on April 26, 1874. The tree is said to be in Madagascar, however, Edmund Spencer said he made it up. He missed April Fool's Day by 25 days. 25 days too late there, Edmund. A doppelganger, which literally translates to double walker, is a look-alike or double of a living person who is unrelated to that person. Often portrayed as a ghostly or paranormal phenomenon, the doppelganger is usually seen as a harbinger of bad luck or an evil twin. In other cultures, if you meet your doppelganger, you die on the spot. Being a demon-like monstrous humanoid, a ghoul originated in pre-Islamic Arabian religions. Ghouls are associated with graveyards and the consumption of human flesh. Ghoul is also a catch-all term similar to zombies for kinds of like undead monsters. Ghouls dwell in cemeteries and other places where humans don't generally tend to hang out. Ghouls are also considered a type of jinn in certain cultures. No longer technically classified as a cryptid, the okapi is an endangered species that looks like a zebra, donkey, deer, antelope mix. However, despite it looking like these animals, the closest living relative is actually the giraffe. It was believed to be a cryptid until the early 1900s when Sir Harry Honston found an okapi's skeleton and skin and sent it to the British Museum, where it would then be classified as a new species. Wander lights are atmospheric ghost lights seen by travelers at night. They are most commonly seen in swamps, but are also common in forests and graveyards. Based purely on the name, you can probably guess, but it's essentially just a light that wanders around. They're also known as ghost lights or ghost orbs in the United States. The Ifrit is a powerful type of demon in Islamic mythos, often associated with the underworld and also identified with the spirits of the dead. The Ifrit is a powerful demon who can inhabit desolate places such as ruins and temples, but their true home is the underworld. The Beast of Exmoor is a British phantom cat that roams the fields of Exmoor in Devon, UK. There have been many reported sightings and at least 3 photos taken of the beast. The Daily Express offered a reward for the capture and slaying of the beast, as it is said to have killed over 100 sheep in the space of 3 months. Much like other beast-type cryptids, it has been blamed for multiple livestock deaths. Santer, also sometimes referred to as a wampus, is a mysterious feline reported in the United States below the Mason-Dixie line. It is commonly seen in North Carolina and is rarely considered dangerous to humans, but much like the Beast of Exmoor, it is a frequent predator to livestock. The origins of the creature came from the tales of lumberjacks in the 19th and 20th century. It is said to have a long body covered in reddish hair, a bald head, small eyes, long legs, and a long tail with 8 hard knots in it. The only knots I like are garlic knots. So I wasn't able to find anything on puff spores outside of it's like a type of fungus. Like a fungus will shoot spores out of a hole near the top of it, and the spores are so small that when it puffs it looks like smoke. But that was the only thing I was able to find. If there's something I'm missing, leave it in the comments below. Similar to air rods, atmospheric beasts are flying monsters that are in the sky or atmosphere. According to those who have seen them, they said that these beings are living creatures but break all the rules that biologists have applied to living organisms. They're able to levitate without a need for wings, and their bodies are often depicted as a semi-solid or partially invisible state. So atmospheric jellyfish just kind of falls under the category of atmospheric beasts, but they're often jellyfish-looking creatures, or possibly even UFOs that are seen in the atmosphere. This has been seen by hundreds across the globe, including scientists, military bases, and cities. According to NASA, they actually might be the results of space debris reflecting off the northern lights. This refers to, from what I can tell, avian humanoids, which is just like a person who has like avian-like characteristics and avian bird-like characteristics. The most famous avian would probably be Ra, the Egyptian god of the sun, as he's often depicted having a falcon's head. The barnacle tree is a mythical tree believed in the Middle Ages to have barnacles that open to reveal baby geese. The more I hear of old cryptids, man, the more I think they were just high. The legend might have been started due to goose barnacles growing on driftwood. Albert Magnus denounced the tree as a hoax in the 13th century. However, The tales of the tree were popular among herbalists until the 18th century. Black-eyed children are paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16 who have pale skin and black eyes. They are often seen hitchhiking or begging and are seen on doorsteps of houses asking for food or money or to use the restroom. Some people claim that they've existed since the 1980s, but most sources say they originated in 1996. There are some movies about them as well if you're interested in that kind of media. Like the black-eyed children, the black stickmen are a relatively recent phenomenon. These creatures are described as two-dimensional-like, pitch-black beings. They appear to be two-dimensional, and their appearance always looks the same no matter what angle they're seen at. They range in height from regular human height to dozens of feet tall. Not much else is known about these creatures. While most fairies are not interesting to the cryptozoology community, it doesn't mean that all members of the community kind of poo-poo the idea of fairies. Fairy sightings have been more creepy and disturbing in recent times, and these dark fairies are said to dwell within the earth itself. The Dutch flying jellyfish is a specific atmospheric jellyfish which we covered earlier that was pictured by Harry Peterson. It's just a more specific kind of atmospheric jellyfish, and this isn't the last one on the list. The Men in Black are said to be parts of governments across the world that investigate alien and UFO sightings. It's also said that they could be aliens themselves sent after alien sightings to make sure that the person who saw them earlier never talks again under threat or is seen as crazy and not reliable with their information. There are like 3 movies about the Men in Black, but quite a few real-life photos of them exist as well. In Alabama, on October 17, 1973, a spaceship was spotted out in a field. The police were called, and the police chief, Jeff Greenhaw, arrived. He didn't see a spaceship, however, he did see something maybe even worse: an alien. The alien was clad in a tinfoil-like substance, but it was intensely bright and described as being as smooth as glass. It moved in a very robotic or childlike manner, as if it was attempting to learn how to move in the current gravity. It then ran away, and Jeff said that it covered 9 feet with every step. He took 4 pictures of it before it ran off. The luck that Jeff had afterwards was horrible. He was fired, his marriage fell apart, and then his house burned to the ground. A flying horse is a horse with wings on it. It can fly and run at incredible speeds. The most famous flying horse is Pegasus, of course, the flying horse that was the horse of Hercules, at least in the Disney movie. I don't know, I'm not caught up on my Pegasus lore. The Michigan Dogman was first witnessed in 1887 in Michigan, USA. It is described as 7 feet tall, blue eyes, however some say amber eyes, bipedal and canine-like animal with a torso of a man and a fearsome howl that sounds like a mix of a howl and a human scream. In 1937, a man in Paris, Michigan, by the name of Robert Fortney, claims to have been attacked by 5 wild dogs and said that one of them walked on 2 legs, and that dog is said to be the Dogman. The NASA jellyfish anomalies are just the atmospheric jellyfish that have been photographed by NASA. The difference is that since these are photographed by NASA, it's a little bit more credible. The last cryptid on this iceberg is in fact another atmospheric jellyfish. It was sighted in Norway on January 20th, 2010. It's called the Norwegian atmospheric jellyfish. It does really look like a jellyfish, as you can see in the picture. However, since it is in Norway, Norway is really close to the Northern Lights, which, if you remember, NASA said this kind of phenomenon is debris reflecting off the Northern Lights. So, shadow people are a person or people that appear as a shadow. They're most common in the paranormal with ghost hunters or caught on camera. People also see these on security cameras and out of the corner of their eyes. It's said that these are negative figures and can be repelled by invoking the name of Jesus. In 1903, several well-respected members of the Van Meter community in Iowa reported a mysterious winged creature that terrorized the town's residents during several nights over a week. The Van Meter visitor is described as having large bat-like wings, left a terrible stench, and could fire a beam of bright light from its forehead. Many of the locals tried to shoot it down, but the bullets appeared to have no effect. The Hook Island sea monster is actually one that I knew about, but I didn't know its name. This is a giant, roughly 90-foot long, black tadpole-looking monster found off of Hook Island. It's said to have a gaping mouth and small teeth. Organism 46b was a 10-foot long, 14-tentacled squid-like creature in Lake Vostok in Antarctica. The lake is located under 2 miles of ice and was said to have been seen by a Russian scientific team near the Vostok Station research outpost. Dr. Anton Padalix claimed to have been part of the first expedition to explore the lake and said, "We encountered organism 46b on our first day. It disabled our radio, which was intentional. It is also able to paralyze prey from a distance of up to 150 feet by releasing its venom into the water. Tragically, my colleague and lifelong friend was killed that way." A pukwudgie is a human-like creature found in Delaware, Prince Edward Island, and Wampanoag folklore. It is said to be 2 to 3 feet tall. It can appear and disappear at will, shapeshift, lure people to their deaths, use magic, launch poison arrows, and create fire. They're in the Harry Potter series, Pottermore, and in my opinion they kind of look like the Reiklings from the Dragonborn DLC in Skyrim. You can see it, right? These are pretty low on the iceberg for how well known they are, but elves are everywhere in culture today. They are humanoid beings from Germanic mythos, especially Northern Germanic mythos and folklore. They're generally depicted as tiny with green clothes, a pointy hat, and pointed ears. Think of like Santa's elves. However, in more recent media, they're human-sized, not tiny, don't often wear as bright of green, and are more associated with the color gold and like a dark forest green. However, they do still have the pointed ears. Elves in today's culture, we can think of Skyrim, Lord of the Rings, the Rice Krispie elves. Link from The Legend of Zelda has pointy ears. It can be argued to be an elf. Buddy the elf from the movie Elf. Not a real elf, he's actually a human, raised by elves.
I'm an elf. Well, technically I'm a human, but I was raised by elves.
Oh, I'm a human, raised by humans.
The Grassman is a tall humanoid that lives in the woods in Ohio, which is where it gets its other name, the Ohio Grassman. It's said to be similar to the Bigfoot, but much more aggressive than any other Sasquatch subspecies. It gets its name from the hut that it builds out of tall grass. It was first seen in 1978 when 4 children reportedly saw it. They told their parents, and when their parents went to investigate, they also saw the creature. They estimated it to be about 300 pounds and instantly just ran away. They were just, no, out of here. That's the smartest thing they could have done. Most normal person in Ohio. In Japanese folklore, kitsune are foxes that possess paranormal abilities that increase as they get older and wiser. Kind of jealous, because as I get older, I just don't get wiser, I just get more back pain. Foxes as a whole in Japanese folklore are able to shapeshift into a human form, and the kitsune will use this to trick others. Some other stories portray them as faithful guardians, friends, and lovers. The Minnesota Dogman is often compared to the 2 other beasts covered earlier on this list, the Michigan Dogman and the Beast of Bray Road. First sighted in 1999 by a man on an Air Force base in St. Louis County. From what I can find, there have been 3 or 4 sightings, but nothing out of the ordinary, no excessive livestock deaths or anything that are usually associated with these kind of creatures. An ogre is a legendary monster depicted as a large, hideous, man-like being that eats ordinary human beings, especially infants and children. They frequently appear in mythology, folklore, and fiction throughout the world. They also appear in many classic works of literature and are often associated with fairy tales and legends, often with a taste for infants. The most famous ogre, of course, being our favorite greed monster, Shrek, my man. We went over sirens a little bit ago with the mermaid creature in an earlier tier. Sirens come from Greek mythology. They are human-like beings with luring voices. They are most famous for their scene in the Odyssey, in which Odysseus saves his crew's lives after they try to lure him to crash the ship into rocks. They are used today as a symbol for dangerous temptation. For this next one, we're actually headed back to our favorite state for cryptids, West Virginia. The sheep squatch is a woolly-haired cryptid reported in numerous counties throughout West Virginia. Predominantly within the southwestern region, it's depicted as a quadruped about the size of a bear with white wool-like fur. It has a long and pointed head similar to that of a dog, and has long saber-like teeth and a set of horns similar to that of a young goat. I don't know why they didn't call it goat squatch. The sheep squatch, like many other cryptids within West Virginia, make an appearance in Fallout 76. Bahamut is a monster that dwells deep below, underpinning the support structure that holds up the Earth. In this idea of the world, the Earth is held up by an angel who stands on a gemstone, which is on the back of a cow, all on the base of a fish. That fish is Bahamut. The Cerro Azul monster is a creature photographed near the town of Cerro Azul in Panama in September 2009. A group of 4 or 5 teenagers between the ages of 14 and 16 claim to have been playing near a cave in Cerro Azul when the creature emerged. It walked towards them, and fearing for their safety, they attacked it and killed it. They took a picture of its corpse and sent it to Telemetro, a Panamanian TV station. Now, if you look at it, kind of looks similar to the Montauk monster from New York, which cryptozoologist says verifies both of them. Scientists, however, say that it was a brown-throated sloth, a species common in the area. They say that the boys found the creature under the water when it was already dead, it already had its hair washed away, and they just claimed that it was alive when they found it. The Chilean blob was a large mass of tissue found on Pueno Beach, Chile in 2003. It weighed 14 tons and measured 39 feet across. Biologists were initially unable to identify it, and speculation was that it was the remains of some species of giant octopus previously unknown to scientists. However, the next year in 2004, DNA matched that of a sperm whale. The Cyclops shark is a shark with one eye. It was found in 2011. It has a functional eye just on the front of its head, as if it's a Cyclops from, like, you know, Odysseus. Just one big eye. Just whatever that dude sees. Like, one eye cannot be easy to see out of. My grandma had one eye. She could not drive very well. In Canadian folklore, the Manipogo is a lake monster said to live in Lake Manitoba in Canada. The creature got its name in 1960, and it is an homage to Ogopogo, which was also covered earlier in this list. There's also a monster in Lake Winnipegosis called Winnipogo. However, they might be the same creature as the two lakes are connected. Winnipogo wasn't on the iceberg anywhere, so consider this a twofer. The ropin is either a big bat or a winged dinosaur in New Guinea. It's said to produce a light most likely to attract fish, as that is its main diet. The description of the creature varies wildly. I've read reports saying that its wingspan is 12 feet. I've read reports saying that its wingspan is 100 feet. No one can quite figure out what this thing looks like, I guess. Except for this one, of course. The drop bear is a creature in Australian folklore. It is a predatory carnivorous version of the koala that gets its name because it drops on its prey. Locals like to tease tourists with stories of the drop bear and say if they go into the woods that they need to put forks in their hair, and if they think a drop bear is around them, they should urinate on themselves. It's just a good old Australian prank. It's just a prank, bro. In Indonesia, we can find the orangutan. It is essentially an Indonesian Bigfoot. It's similar to Bigfoot in looks, and it's said to live in the jungles and mountains of the country. It generally is shy and nocturnal, and as such will explore campsites after dark and after people have gone to bed. It will leave behind large footprints and make an odd whistling noise. It's also been reported to have a blood-curdling scream that sounds like a woman in great distress. It sounds like this is just a reason for people in Indonesia not to go outside if they hear their neighbor yelling. Australian dinosaurs just refers to the fact that there is a belief that dinosaurs are still alive in Australia, specifically in the Darling Downs. Farmers have reported strange noises. Some have reported seeing dinosaurs. That's kind of cool. Australia's a large country and there's not a lot going on. Could be. So this one isn't on this tier. In fact, it's not on the iceberg at all. But my cousin asked me if it was on the iceberg, so I took a look, and when I couldn't find it, I added it for him. So Josh, this is for you. The Popobawa is an evil spirit that resides in Zanzibar and Tanzania. It's a shapeshifter that has been seen in multiple different forms. They typically visit homesteads at night, have a sulfur odor, attack men, women, and children, and can either physically assault someone, but is most famous for forcible sexual assault of the anus. Thanks, Josh. The Andean wolf is really interesting, actually. In 1927, Lorenz Hagenbeck bought one of 3 pelts from a dealer in Buenos Aires. The dealer claimed that they were all wild dogs from the Andes. The pelt ended up in Germany, where a mammologist examined it in 1940. Seems like a scientist in 1940 in Germany was probably busy with other things, but glad the guy had time to examine this pelt. He later published 2 papers describing the animal, and other mammalogists believed it was from a domestic dog. However, nothing else is known about this species, and there has never been anything seen from this creature again that's confirmed to be a part of it. There was supposedly a skull found earlier in 1935, but the one person who studied it lost it. The Ucumar is a Sasquatch-type creature in Argentina. It's described as 5 to 7 feet tall, thick hair, small eyes, and huge arms and legs. Some people have reported it as being a half-bear humanoid, and I gotta ask, what kind of brave, sick person do you have to be to get with a bear? You couldn't wait? Luckily, November is almost over. Speaking of November almost being over, if you're in the United States, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Alright, so giant grasshoppers. Imagine grasshoppers, but giant. And that's it. A snallygaster is a bird reptile she-goat in American folklore coming from German immigrants. Early sightings put it in Frederick County, Maryland, specifically the areas of South Mountain and the Middletown Valley. The Miami Beach scorpion is a large scorpion-like animal seen on Miami Beach. It could be a surviving giant sea scorpion which ruled the sea before the first fish even fully evolved. However, it's probably just a lobster-type animal, as it kind of looks like one, and it's been millions of years since the giant sea scorpion era. There's no pictures of it, and this picture here was taken from a scene in Sea Monster Episode 1, Into the Jaws of Death. This picture is used as it is similar to what one of these would look like, just way smaller, as they're about as tall as your average person. A cockatrice is a 2-legged dragon-type creature with a rooster's head. It is a biblical beast that was described as being an ornament in the drama and poetry of the Elizabethans. It has been prominently featured in English thought and myth for centuries. As mentioned, it's in the Bible, in Isaiah's chapters 11, 14, and 59. It is said that it can kill people just by looking at them, or touching them, or breathing on them. It's mentioned in Romeo and Juliet, actually, when Juliet's nurse can't get the words to say that her cousin, like Juliet's cousin, was killed by Romeo, and so Juliet's like, oh, Romeo's dead, and she says, hath Romeo slain himself? Say thou but I, and that bare vow I shall poison more than the death-darting eye of a cockatrice. If anything, Romeo and Juliet really just proves that teenagers are dramatic. The Moon-Eyed People are a group of short-bearded, white-skinned people who are said to have lived in Appalachia until the Cherokee expelled them. Stories about them, attributed to the Cherokee tradition, are mentioned by early European settlers. In a 1797 book, it says that they are called moon-eyed because they could see well at night, but very poorly during the day. This one is pretty straightforward, as well as there's not a lot of information on it. The Hudson River Monster, it's a sea creature that is said to live in the Hudson River in New York, and that's all the information I got. A hippogriff is a creature with the front half of an eagle and the rear half of a horse. If you've read or seen Harry Potter for some reason, the hippogriff appears within the series. They're first mentioned in 1516, where in a book it talks about a baby animal being born from a mare and a griffin. A haimushi is a tiny moth-like creature with a segmented body and 4 wings. They often live in the lungs of creatures, mostly wild animals, but will occasionally leave the body. They have red faces with triple forked mouths and a white maggot-type body. They have colorful wings and mainly eat cooked rice. The Zexu is a mythical giant bird in South America. It is very similar to the thunderbird of North America, said to be able to make storms and is responsible for the weather. Translated as Snow Woman, the Yuki Onna is a spirit in Japanese folklore. Her lore is kind of interesting, and it varies based on region. In one region, if she engages you in conversation and you respond, she'll attack. However, in a different region, if she engages you in conversation and you ignore her, she'll attack. So, good luck if you ever run into her, I guess. People have compared the Blackbird of Chernobyl to the Mothman, saying they are in fact the same entity. I actually bring that up in my Mothman video, which you can watch here. The Blackbird was seen in Chernobyl right before the disaster that made the region uninhabitable and caused a worldwide panic. Cave Children refers to a creepypasta in which a Dr. Mason Perry explores a cave. In the cave he finds creatures that are not quite human and calls them cave children. There's a twist ending in like these journal entries. It's like a, oh, we found the journal entries of Dr. Mason Perry. It's kind of interesting, so look it up. Old Ned is a nickname for the Lake Utopia monster in New Brunswick, Canada. Described as bulky, being 20 plus feet in length, having a large head, and being reddish brown or dark brown in color. The last time Old Ned was seen was in 2000, while the last official reported sighting by the media was in 1996. It's believed that the creature travels back and forth between Lake Utopia and the Atlantic Ocean. Could be for feeding or breeding purposes. It's probably dead though. We're back to the most normal dudes in Ohio, the melonheads. In Ohio, melonheads are described as small humanoids with bulbous heads who occasionally emerge from hiding places to attack people. Mostly associated with the Cleveland suburb of Kirtland within Ohio, the melonheads were originally orphans under the watch of a mysterious figure known as Dr. Crow. The bullback is a water demon with a big hook, which he uses to grab children from the water side in order to drown them. There isn't really a set description on a bullback from what I've found. This picture is the one, like the closest one that I could find that made the most sense to me. If you've ever played Overwatch, from what I can tell, it's just Roadhog. Instead of just calling this creature Bigfoot, Arizona decided that despite being in the Bigfoot region, they wanted to be unique. So what I'm getting at is that the Mogollon monster is just Bigfoot but in Arizona. It's nocturnal, omnivorous, territorial, and sometimes violent. The Giant of Kandahar was an enormous humanoid creature allegedly encountered and killed by a group of American army soldiers on the mountainside of Afghanistan. Steve Quayle spoke of an occurrence which is still classified by the US government on his popular radio show Coast to Coast. The events allegedly happened in 2002 in a desert part of Afghanistan when a US Army squad went missing. When a rescue party went to look for them, they entered a cave and found a 12 to 15 foot, red-headed, 6 fingers and 6 toes, double-toothed humanoid. The giant impaled a soldier with a giant spear, and a witness claims that it took 30 seconds of continuous gunfire to bring him down. The Dark Woods Demon also comes from a creepypasta, the creepypasta being based on true events. Being over 7 feet tall, massive, and having a blood-curdling scream, the Dark Woods Demon lives in wooded areas and kills livestock in the area, and it's also territorial and will kill people who enter its territories. Also a pretty good read. I'd recommend looking it up on the Creepypasta Wiki. A deer man was first seen in the second best state for cryptids, which we now know as Ohio. It's kind of like a skinwalker, maybe, from what I can tell. It's like a hybrid animal. It's got like the antlered head of a stag and a human torso, and has 2 legs that can either be man or deer. It's like very bulky and super fast. When it was first seen, it actually interrupted some cousins who were playing on their uncle's property. It emerged from a bush, and the 14-year-old who witnessed it said that he looked like a deer on its hind legs. I really think the deer man is just a skinwalker. The Catalonia Fallen Angel was a humanoid cryptid that was caught on film in a forest near Catalonia, Spain. It was caught on camera on June 11th, 2006. It's so skinny that it's almost a skeleton, as if it suffers from anorexia. The body is almost identical to human, except it has glowing eyes, and there are growths emerging from its back that resembles featherless wings. No one's quite sure what this is. It's never been seen again. It hasn't been confirmed to be anything. The rumors are that it's a cryptid or a demon or an alien, and my personal favorite is that it's just a homeless person. A door dog is said to be a dog that is seen following a doomed individual weeks before their death, specifically while passing through a threshold such as a doorway, which is where they get their name. The individual who is doomed cannot see the dogs, however, others around them can. So if you see a dog around someone, you tell them. Maybe don't tell them. I guess it depends on their view of death. The mutant Muppets are strange creatures discovered by a party in Namibia, Africa. A witness claimed that it was spotted foraging for food when one in the party shot it with a rifle. It was wounded and escaped into a thick brush. They tracked it to a nearby lair and found 3 more of the creature. The wounded one then attacked a member of the party and was shot dead, while the others escaped into the brush. It resembles a small humanoid. It's only 5 to 7 inches tall. Large ears, thin eyes, and a flat nose. It could possibly be an undiscovered species. It could also be a mutated human baby, which is very sad. Also known as the jungle walrus, the dingo neck was described as 14 or 15 feet long, head big as that of a lion's, but shaped and marked like a leopard. 2 long white fangs sticking down out of its upper jaw, broad back, scaled like an armadillo, and a broad tail fin. A shot from a .303 caliber rifle didn't hurt it, it only angered it. It's only been seen once and never again, and it didn't really do much except for leave once it got shot because it was mad. The Sandown Clown was a creature encountered by 2 children who were on vacation at Lake Common, Sandown, Isle of the Wight in UK. They followed what sounded like an ambulance siren and wandered across a bridge over a stream. They met a creature that they described as a cross between a clown, a robot, and an alien. It was shy but friendly and spoke kindly to the children before they returned to their parents. It vanished after the encounter and has never been seen again. On November 21st, 2018, an anonymous user on 4chan posted an image to the paranormal board X. This image was accompanied with the following text. This was a picture that was taken from inside a car that I was working on. Full story was that I was working on it at about 11 p.m. and I heard a bang on the front of the car. I thought it was a raccoon, so I took a picture with flash to scare it off, but when I looked at the picture I got this. Having seen this, I turned on my flashlight only to see that it had disappeared. I had matched up the picture next to the car and the wall behind it and measured how tall it would be. It was probably about 8 feet. Can anybody tell me if this is a prank on me or if it was real? Honestly, I think it's real. It was later determined to either be Photoshop, a sculpture, or a painting that OP made. However, it could be real. The crazy critter of Bald Mountain is an insect-like creature seen by several people on November 17, 1974. One of the witnesses described it as horse size, covered in scales and standing on 4 rubbery legs with suckers like octopus tentacles. Its head was football-shaped with an antenna sticking up. The thing gave off this green iridescent light. After reports of the creature hit local papers, the sheriff of Lewis County began an investigation into the sightings. However, in a shock to almost no one who knows about this kind of thing, his inquiry was allegedly halted by individuals claiming to represent both NASA and the United States Air Force. In 1963, 4 British teenagers saw a UFO land in a nearby forest, and the thing that came out of the UFO was a bizarre bat-like beast. Known as the Bat Beast of Kent, they described it as a quasi-humanoid figure that looked like a headless bat, about 5 feet tall, with large webbed feet and wings from its back. The California fetus is a weird carcass that was found in November 2015 in Los Angeles, California. I uploaded this one out as well, kind of like I did with the mutant Muppet back in Tier 5. And trust me, it's for your own good. The picture is disgusting, but if you are really curious, you can look it up. The creature appears bipedal as it has 2 long legs that have hoof-like stumps. It's pink and appears to be shiny as if it's wet. It looks like it has a long neck. However, that could be where 2 missing limbs are from. It also has a round head. It looks like a deformed pig fetus to me, but it can't be confirmed what it is. The Moores Beach monster was a carcass discovered in 1925 on Moores Beach in California. Moores Beach is now Natural Bridges State Beach, so that's why you can't find Moores Beach if you look it up in California. It was described as having a large head with a beak-like mouth and tiny eyes. Some even described it as having fur, elephant skin, feathers, legs, and even toenails. It really just goes to show that eyewitnesses can be unreliable, especially after time has passed. Anyway, they eventually took the skull and the DNA matched that of a Baird's beaked whale. Sorry to be the one breaking this news to you. The Solway Firth spaceman is actually a little too low on this iceberg in my opinion, because it's something that I was already pretty familiar with and is pretty mainstream. This is the photograph that had the world abuzz in 1964. It looks pretty good, right? The picture is of a man's 5-year-old daughter on a day trip. The man took 3 pictures of his daughter in this pose, and the middle one had this spaceman in it. The most accepted explanation is that it's actually a woman facing away from the child with her arm on her hip. Viewfinders on cameras back in the day didn't really let you see the whole picture, only 70% of it about, so it is very possible. The Park Forestal alien is a supposed alien sighting in 2004 in Chile. You can kind of see it here in this picture. I put a circle around it, so hopefully that helps. German Peraria was the photographer of this photo. He was taking a few pictures of state police on horseback, and after reviewing the photos, he noticed the small figure. Okay, this one's crazy. This one is absolutely crazy. So Jeff the Talking Mongoose is a mongoose that can supposedly talk. In September of 1931, the Irving family claimed that they heard like scratching and rustling and vocal noises behind their farmhouse. When they went and investigated, a creature that called itself Jeff introduced itself as a mongoose born in New Delhi, India in 1852. The large Antarctic sea mammal was a creature reported by a Japanese ship in 1958 in Antarctica. The captain of the ship described the creature as an Antarctic Godzilla. I'm sure that has nothing to do with Godzilla being a huge Japanese success right around 1958. The black demon, also known as the black demon shark, is an enormous black shark said to live off the coast of Mexico's Baja California peninsula. In recent years, there have been numerous sightings, primarily from local fishermen. The creature is supposedly 20 to 60 feet long and resembles a great white shark, but with a dark skin color and a larger tail. The Ahuizotl is a legendary creature from Aztec mythology. It is said that he would lure people to their deaths. It's a water possum which possesses dexterous hands like a monkey. Hernan Cortez reported to the king that one of his men was killed by one. Selma is a lake monster near Telemark, Norway in Lake this, which is a 12-mile long and a 1.5 mile wide body of water. Reports go back as far as the 1750s of a large reptilian creature living in the lake. See this? See this picture? This is why I'm scared of the ocean. Like, if I encounter this thing and I'm out there, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I'm on a boat. I'm dead. In Caucasian folklore, an Almas is a deity said to inhabit the Caucasus Mountains, the Tian Shan and Pamir Mountains in China, as well as the Altai Mountains in Mongolia. It's described as having a flat face like that of a human and would often walk on 2 legs. Its body was covered with a thick black fur and its feet had enormous claws. It had great strength, and not only were hunters afraid of attacking it, but inhabitants actually would remove their habitations from parts of the countries which this creature visited. The Mapingari is a Brazilian creature who was once an Amazonian shaman who discovered the key to immortality thousands of years ago. With the discovery, he angered the gods, who severely punished him by transforming him into a wandering hairy beast for the rest of his immortal life. The Grecian dolphin is a mutated dolphin-like animal sighted twice off of the coast of Greece by tourists. This picture was posted on Twitter and caused some stir among the cryptozoology community. The Sakhalin Island seawolf is a corpse that was found by Russian soldiers at the Sakhalin's shoreline. The shoreline is situated near Japan and is the easternmost part of Russia, about 5,000 miles away from Moscow. The creature was eventually identified as a beluga whale carcass, so again, I hate to be the one breaking this bad news to you, but someone's got to do it. The Thames River Monster is a giant serpent-like creature that was sighted in Greenwich, near the O2 Arena. It's said to be anywhere from 30 to 170 feet in length, so they're probably just seeing multiple creatures. It's also often compared to the Loch Ness Monster. You can actually see it here. Someone took a photo of it, supposedly. This next one's really cool. It's the man from Taured, and it's exactly what it sounds like. He's a man from the country of Taured. What country of Taured, I hear you asking through this screen? That's where the mystery comes into play. The country doesn't exist. He showed up at an airport, and when officials told him that Taured didn't exist, he got confused and showed them his passport. His Taured passport had visa stamps from previous trips to Japan, as well as other countries. When custom officials showed him a world map, he pointed to a tiny country called Andorra, which is actually super tiny. It's actually between Spain and France. So that little line right there is a little tiny country right there called Andorra. When he saw that the map said Andorra, he became irate and said that Andorra didn't exist and that is where Taured should be. He was escorted to a secure room and the room was locked. When security officials came in to question him, he was gone. The Kushtaka are mythical shape-shifting creatures. They are capable of assuming human form and the form of an otter. These are the only 2 that have been seen, but it's said that it could take other forms. It's also said that these creatures can be warded off through copper, urine, dogs, and fire. The Dark Watchers are a group of mysterious dark human-like creatures who stand on hills, ridges, and peaks in the Santa Lucia Mountains of California. They supposedly watch those who wander into the mountains but are not aggressive. They're usually spotted around dusk and appear to be a spirit of some sort. However, the origins are currently unknown. In Hawaiian mythology, Night Marchers are the deadly ghosts of ancient Hawaiian warriors. They are the vanguard for a sacred king, and that is all the information on Night Marchers. In Idaho is a spot called the Massacre Rocks. When Native Americans ruled the area, there was a severe famine. It was so bad that the villagers got together and decided that they couldn't keep feeding the new mouths. So as babies were being born, their mothers were forced to take them down to the nearby river and drown them. These babies are said to haunt the area and are known as the water babies of Massacre Rock. This also happened in part of Utah Lake, where the Ute Indians have a similar story. Water elephants are semi-aquatic relatives of the African elephant. The water elephant is described as an oddly shaped, tuskless elephant that lives most of its life in deep, murky water. The green-clawed beast is rumored to live in the Ohio River near Indiana. So while it's not in the state of Ohio, it's in the Ohio River, so I think we can count it. On August 14th, 1955, an unseen claw-like hand grabbed Naomi Johnson and pulled her beneath the water. Her friend saw from her inner tube and went to rescue Naomi. The arm let go and then grabbed the girl again. The attack stopped once the inner tube was over the hand. A short while later, a man claiming to be an Air Force colonel came to the Johnsons' house and told them to never speak of the incident. Pyramid Lake in Nevada has a lot of weird activity that happens there. Along with water babies, which are near the end of Tier 6, there is also said to be a spiteful mermaid that lives there. The mermaid married a man of the Paiute tribe, but the marriage was disapproved of and she was banished from the area. She then swore revenge on any tribe member that came near the shores of Pyramid Lake. Goody Cole is the name of the only woman to ever be convicted of witchcraft in New Hampshire. She lived especially long, even by today's standards, so especially by 1600 standards. She was born in 1590 and died in 1680 at the age of 90. While she was in prison, she was also seen at the gravesite of a child that she was accused of killing, just confirming her witchcraft. The ghost boy of Clinton Road is the spirit of a young boy who haunts the bridge on Clinton Road in New Jersey. It's said that if you throw a coin into the water below, he'll return it to you. There are a good number of coins in the river below, so you can go get yourself some good coinage, if you dare. Yamaya Hora is a spirit that resides in New Mexico that is either an evil spirit or a demon. She wanders lonely country roads after midnight to terrorize travelers who travel alone. She is said to lurk in the darkness at the crossroads, and according to some, is more feared than the devil himself. She rarely appears in human form, instead usually as a black lump that can rapidly change sizes. However, if she is seen in human form, it is considered an omen of death. Cropsy was an urban legend in Staten Island that was attributed to the disappearances of many children. He was described as an escaped mental patient who lived at the abandoned Willowbrook Mental Institution, who would come out at night and hunt for kids on the street. It is said he would take the children to a tunnel network under the mental institution. Sadly, Cropsy was actually just a real-life serial killer known as Andre Rand, so instead of actual police work for a while, the Staten Island police force was just like, I can't believe the ghost is taking all these children. Nothing we can do about it, it's a ghost. The Oregon Bandage Man is said to plague Cannon Beach and the stretch of Highway 101 nearby in, Oregon. He supposedly is a man that's covered in bandages and jumps on cars. Couples parked in lots report seeing him approaching their car. He is said to smell like rotting flesh and sometimes leaves pieces of small bloody bandages behind. A ghost city is a phenomenon similar to that of the atmospheric jellyfish, but instead of just a jellyfish, it's a whole city. This has been witnessed multiple times in China since 2011. You can see in the picture here, it looks like a floating city in the clouds. The only real possible explanation that science has given is that it's a shared optical illusion, but they look cool and real. I'd love to fly a plane up there and see what's up. Here's another picture where you can actually see windows and stuff that show up on the buildings. It's really bizarre stuff. I'm sure if you spent any time on the creepy side of the internet at all, you're familiar with this picture. This is a solar plexus clown glider image. Solar plexus clown gliders is a collective name given to the broad range of paranormal phenomena attributed to a corrupt entity which infects weak or vulnerable people through the solar plexus chakra. Legends featuring the pig-faced woman originated at the same time in Holland, England, and France in the late 1630s. The woman is a wealthy woman whose body is of a normal human but whose face is that of a pig. It is said that this is the result of witchcraft. The Black Flash was a bizarre entity encountered many times, mostly by children, in Provincetown, Massachusetts through 1939. It is said that he would lurk around town and jump at people, then laugh maniacally. He would then elude people that persuaded him with extreme agility and speed. I'm not sure if you remember the Spring Hill Jack from earlier, but this is like the American Spring Hill Jack. In Argentina, a small town was gripped with fear after several sightings of a creepy gnome that locals claim stalks the street at nights. The small creature hobbles back and forth and has been spotted on camera multiple times. I mean, look at this dude. He's tiny. He cannot be that scary. A cloud giant is a giant that lives in the clouds. I'm sure you've heard of the giant beanstalk that gets planted and then goes up to the clouds and then a giant lives there and there's like the goose that lays the golden egg. Same thing. The Mad Gasser of Mattoon was the name given to a person who was responsible for a series of gas attacks that occurred in Mattoon, Illinois in the mid-1940s. He's described as a tall, thin man dressed in dark clothes and wearing a tight-fitting cap. Another report says the Gasser is a female that dresses as a man. They were never found, so it remains a mystery to this day. The piranha creature is a strange animal carcass that washed up on the shore of the Piranha River. It kind of looks like a frog to me, however it has 5 fingers and toes on each hand and foot, and none of them are webbed. I guess it could have just gone away. It has no neck, so well, it could be a frog, it could also just be an undiscovered creature. The gnome of Girona is an unidentified creature currently sitting in a jar in Girona, Spain. Many experts believe that the creature was a fetus of a local animal, probably a rabbit due to its nose and ears. However, I think it looks like an elephant. Like little things that tusk. Little things that tusk. You see it. The origin of it, however, is that it was captured by a hunter. The hunter said that he heard a strange, high-pitched groan, and then he saw the animal. It ran from him. He eventually caught it with a blanket. Another strange carcass, the highway beast, was found on the side of the highway in Alexandria, Minnesota. It's white with a small lower body and thick upper body, with an almost non-existent neck. It has a dog-like head, and the front paws have 5 clawed toes each. Another carcass. Told you, we'd be getting a lot of carcasses here. The Kovashi creature was found in western Russia. The creature is 3 to 4 centimeters in length and blackish brown in color. It has an oddly shaped skull, a long neck, and a long leg type appendage. The Diogen is an evil spirit said to haunt the Sonian forest in Belgium, often seen in fog form and followed by smaller shadow figures. There hasn't been a sighting in some time, however, so it's become more of a local urban legend. The Brazilian werewolf is a humanoid creature, reportedly caught on a security camera in east central Brazil. It appears to be very muscular and possesses long legs and a long tail. I mean, look at this picture. It looks really real. A sea monk was the name given to a sea animal found off the eastern coast of the island of Zealand in 1546. A lot of people have said it was probably a squid. Someone mistook for something else, as it has been compared to a squid multiple times. It's said to be a sea creature that appears to be wearing a robe and have a humanoid head. I'll throw up a picture real fast here of a comparison to like a squid. The Crawfordsville monster is a creature reported by residents of Crawfordsville, Indiana in 1891. The initial sighting was by two ice delivery men who cited a strange phenomenon that hovered in the air above their location and described it as a horrible apparition that filled them with dread. A similar sighting was reported by a pastor and his wife later that night. It was described as about 18 feet long and 8 feet wide, but could move rapidly through the air propelled by several pairs of side fins. It was pure white and had no definitive shape or form. It had a giant flaming eye and a wheezing sound was emitting from its invisible mouth. A shug monkey is a creature that shares features of a dog and a monkey, which reportedly haunts Slough Hill Lane in Cambridgeshire, East England. The creature is believed to be either a ghost or a demon and is said to have a jet black shaggy sheepdog body with the face of a monkey and staring eyes. A sewer humanoid was a strange humanoid cryptid that was caught on film in the sewer systems of the northwest side of England and was recorded in April of 2011. It's obviously humanoid, but with very thin, long arms that nearly reach the ground. The eyes appear to glow, as you can see, and it's said to move at incredible speeds. Moa Moa is a turtle-like sea creature inhabiting the area of the Great Barrier Reef near Queensland, Australia. It's described as a long-necked creature with a large, dome-shaped back and a huge fishtail. It was seen 9 times in the area within a span of several days in 1890. In 1948, a woman was living in an apartment that had a large basement with holes in the walls that were rumored to lead to water. One day she was down there and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Her quote was, "I was so scared, I can still feel it. I couldn't move. In one of the huge holes in the basement, there stood this thing." The creature she saw was described as being 5 feet tall, bright orange with little spidery thin legs and antennae. The only thing she could describe it as was a giant shrimp, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of the giant shrimp in the laundry room. The flannel shirt Sasquatch is a rare subspecies of the Sasquatch, except it appears to be wearing human clothes, most consistently a ragged flannel shirt, where it gets its name, and that's it. Camera heads are said to be either human or human-like entities that have a camera implanted into their inner nerves of their eye. They are a walking surveillance system, although for what or who is unknown as of right now. The carnivorous pink cloud is a ghostly entity that was sighted around the Tamaka River in Florida. It was observed to consume the flesh of animals, and it was blamed for numerous deaths of animals around the river. Sky serpents are snakes or elongated serpent-type creatures that appear to float or fly in the air. They're more similar to the Asian dragons as they are snake-like and they don't have wings, however they can fly regardless. A cryptid from Vietnam, the Con Rit is an enormous oceanic centipede that lives in the southeastern Vietnam Sea. It is made of segments of bony plates and uses fish-like fins to swim. Rock apes, also known as the rock apes of Vietnam, are a group of alleged violent humanoids reportedly sighted multiple times during the Vietnam War from 1955 to 1975. They are mostly seen by Americans who would tell their stories after they returned home. They were described as hairy, Sasquatch-like humanoids between 3 and 7 feet tall. It's said that they live deep in the jungle, resulting in them not being afraid of humans as they don't have much contact. The ghost wolf is a ghostly animal that is said to have been sighted in several areas around the Midwestern and Eastern United States. That's pretty much all the info available on the ghost wolf, so... The Pennine pterodactyl was a flying creature said to have been witnessed by several people in Pennine Moors, a valley near West Yorkshire. That's also the only available information. As we get deeper into this list, there's just less and less information on some of these. The The cabogon is a cryptid first spotted by a Japanese fishing ship off the coast of New Zealand in 1958. Its name translates to hippo monster, and by looking at it, you can kind of see why. Looks like a hippo. It hasn't been seen since, but later odd footprints were reported on the beach near the sighting that could belong to it. The Ting Vor is a cow-like creature supposedly existing in Cambodia and Vietnam. It's described as looking like a cow, but it has twisting horns about 20 inches long and it has spotted fur. It's said to eat snakes, so I guess if you have a snake problem, just get one of these bad boys. They'll help out. The X-monkey is an alleged primate said to live in many forests across the world. However, there's only one and it moves around a lot, so it's hard to find. This kind of sounds like that kid in high school who's like, yeah, I have a girlfriend, but you wouldn't know her. She goes to a different school. That's what it sounds like to me, but what do I know? It's said to have been created in a lab by Albert Einstein. It's about the size of an orangutan, and half of its face is robotic. A fraction of people in Kenya have claimed that they've seen it, and explorers have found a rundown lab in the middle of Kenya where they found blueprints, as well as a broken tank with orangutan hair on it, as well as artificial DNA. The blueprints they found match the description of the creature that the civilians saw, and the name at the top of the blueprint said X, which is where it gets its name X-monkey. The were-tiger is a feline cryptid said to inhabit the forests of Asia. Most descriptions describe it as like a humanoid tiger. However, in some countries, it's a human who can shapeshift into a tiger. Usually they eat livestock, however, it's not super uncommon for them to eat human. So, the Oviedo dick monster is in the central Florida town of Oviedo, about 15 minutes outside of Orlando. This creature is about 7 feet tall when fully erect, and has a long phallus-shaped body with 2 round legs, hence the name Dick Monster. Most sightings take place at night in the woods, and all sightings have been from stoned teenagers, who are reputable sources, as we all know. The Wunan toads are giant albino toad-like creatures that live in China. They have an insatiable appetite and are very large. Sightings of the creatures go back to 1962, when fishermen found them and tried to kill it by throwing sticks of dynamite at it. This only angered the toad, which pursued the men before giving up and returning back to the water. The Black Volga is actually a European phenomenon surrounding black cars that are said to abduct and kill people. Often compared to the Men in Black or black helicopters, etc., it could be a government car which is used for abduction and murder. But just remember, this is a parody channel, all jokes, haha. The Bilambil Heights alien was a sighting of an alien in the town of Bilambil Heights, Australia. The naming convention of some of these cryptids are just crazy. I don't know where they get these clever ideas. The alien was described by Alex, a 16-year-old who had seen it while in his backyard, and being gray with a big head. There are videos on his YouTube channel that Alex uploaded, so you can see it for yourself beyond just this picture here. The Old Saybrook blockheads are said to be extraterrestrials that were sighted on December 16th, 1957 in, you'll never guess, Old Saybrook, Connecticut. A retired teacher said that she woke up around 2 or 3 in the morning and saw a light coming in her bedroom window. When she looked out, she saw an object hovering above her clothesline. She described the creatures as having no hands, their heads were transparent cubes with a bright red core, and they had rubbery bodies that kind of looked like skirts. The Woods Devils, or perhaps even just the Woods Devil, is debated between being either a single Bigfoot or a group of them that have been roaming the woodlands of Cook County, New Hampshire since the 1930s. They are skinny, about 7 or 9 feet tall, with shaggy tan-gray hair. It likes to hide in trees and will hide if they see a human coming. If there's no trees or cover for it to hide behind, it'll simply just stand perfectly still and hope you don't see it. Old Green Eyes is a North American ghoul creature that was reported to have been seen among the corpses of the American Civil War. It's said to have been drawn to the war due to its devastation, number of casualties, and negative energy. A beast with green eyes is claimed to have haunted the land before the Civil War as well. In the 1970s, which is well after the Civil War in case you're curious, 2 different cars ran off the road in the same location after having seen a pair of glowing green eyes. The killer cactus is a creature reported in the southwestern United States, specifically Arizona. It looks like a normal cactus, but it can reach out from several feet away and latch onto clothing and flesh. One of the possible explanations given from a website that I read was a species of mobile cactus, which I actually think is more interesting than the cryptid theory. It would be like a Venus flytrap if it could move around instead of just close its mouth. This one took a little bit to find because it's just called the Awful. But the Awful is a winged cryptid sighted in Vermont by several people. The first sighting involved 2 sawmill workers who were crossing a bridge when they saw it. They saw it glaring at them from a rooftop, and one of the men was so scared that he had a heart attack and died on the spot. The Awful is described as being similar to a griffin with gray wings that have a 20-foot wingspan. The Squonk is making a case for my favorite cryptid along with the Loveland Frog, so expect these 2 at the top of the cryptid tier list. It lives in Hemlock Forest in Pennsylvania, and it has ill-fitting skin, which is covered in warts and moles. It's always sad and crying, usually about its appearance, as it doesn't want to see itself and will avoid water on moonlit nights, so it won't have to see itself. If it's cornered by creatures or hunters, it will simply dissolve into a puddle of its own tears. But look at this cute little guy. He's just a cute little guy. He's so cute. The Metapec creature was found in a trap by a Mexican farmer. The farmer stated that the creature was alive and aggressive when he found it. Unfortunately, it was revealed as a hoax as a taxidermist confessed to making it. We're back to the cryptid capital of the world, West Virginia. A veggie man is said to be over 7 feet tall, with a semi-human shape, and is plant-based. The sighting happened in 1968 when a hunter heard an odd noise and came face to face with the creature. He said the creature talked to him with telepathy and said, quote, "You need not fear me. I wish to communicate. I come as a friend. We know of you all. I come in peace. I wish medical assistance. I need your help." At which point the creature lunged at him. Sounds like you probably should have feared him. And the hunter's skin was pierced and blood drained from him. Shortly afterwards, the creature just ran away. Alright, the 6-legged rope centaur comes from an old X thread on 4chan where Anon posts about seeing the creature. He described it as having 6 legs, 2 arms, a bald head, a face that looks like a masquerade ball mask, human mouth, a human torso attached to the legs like a centaur kind of look, and a dong under the abdomen where a normal dong would be on a human. The story has no rope or even implied rope, so I don't know where that part of the name comes from, but it really messed up the YouTube algorithm for me, I'm sure.